SUV is Latin for higher margin body style. In 2024, the Tata Punch became India's best-selling car. Why is that a big deal? Well, first time that we saw a Maruti getting knocked off the number one position, it was Tata. That was big. Did you know that there are almost 50 options if you're looking to buy an SUV right now? So the choices are endless, but the real question is, which one is right for you? Which car should I buy? A brand new podcast where I will try and get to the heart of the Indian car bazaar and to the heart of your doubts, questions, queries, and then some. Why? Got to put all this experience to some productive use, no? Sahi baat hai na? Jokes aside, the real point is that this is probably the most common question I get asked. And while the answer is never black and white, kitna kuch sochna padta hai. The choices in the market are more than ever before. Our needs as consumers are also so diverse, and there are so many things to think about. Petrol or diesel, or electric, or even hybrid. Which body style, which price point, which brand, which variant. It goes on and on. अच्छा चलो बात करते हैं SUVs की as promised. Everyone's favorite car type. So hot, so in demand. Well, they're called SUVs, but a majority of them do not have any off-road capability or use. अरे काफ़ी तो capability होने के बाद भी off-road कभी नहीं जाती. Or they seldom get that kind of usage. But yeah, some months ago, I remember I made a joke that SUV is Latin for higher margin body style. It's true, the industry loves them. In many cases, they're really just bumped up hatches or even sedans. And they command better profit margins for the manufacturers over the same platform products that could be a sedan or a hatch. Now, in 2024, the Tata Punch became India's best-selling car. Why is that a big deal? Well, first time that we saw a Maruti getting knocked off the number one position, it was Tata. That was big, but then also an SUV. It wasn't a small hatchback. It was followed, of course, by the WagonR, then by the Ertiga, also surprising. But immediately after that, the Brezza, then the Creta, almost neck to neck, in fact, very close numbers for those two. So, in fact, out of the top 5-10 car models sold last year, the highest sales, 3 का नाम तो मैंने आपको already दे दिया है. The other 2 were Scorpio and Nexon. Anywho, ये तो पुरानी बात है. In many ways, एक और पुरानी बात जो शायद बहुत लोग भूल चुके हैं is how crazy the marketing of these SUVs is done in terms of the segments that they're pushed into. Now, to justify that higher price, we call something subcompact, compact. And then there's a domino effect. It kind of goes up all segments. I'll get to that a little bit later in this podcast. The highest selling and fastest growing car segments in the market are the micro, subcompact, and compact SUVs. There you go, some segment names there. I mean, cars like the Punch or Exter at one end, Seltos or Grand Vitara at the other end, and Venue or Nexon in the middle. And then you have the plus-sized ones like the Harrier or Hector or even the Compass. Well, I mean, they're still compact, but thoda zyada. Now, answer this question. True or false? The Ford EcoSport began this subcompact SUV craze in India. False. It was the Premier Rio. किसी को भी याद नहीं है. No one remembers that half-hearted attempt at a comeback by Premier with an old rebadged last-gen Daihatsu. Yet, the EcoSport gets the credit. In the one-up segment, that distinction belonged to the Renault Duster, lekin yahan bhi, the Creta is remembered as the OG. And in the entry or micro SUV segment, which is relatively newer, it's assumed to be the Tata Punch, but actually उस पे भी पहले Maruti Suzuki Espresso आई थी. Now, I'll wait till you're done laughing or smirking. हो गया? See, the thing is, Maruti launched that car as an SUV. On its website also, it was listed as SUV. Somehow, finally, they have got some kind of reality check. In 2025, it's now listed as a hatch on that Arena website. But Maruti's done this for years. I mean, earlier also you had the Swift being called a premium hatchback. Then the Baleno arrived and suddenly the Swift became a regular hatch. Anyway, that's a discussion for some other day. Back to the point at hand. Now, how do you choose the right SUV for you? Very often, for most people, it's about the budget. But if that isn't your first consideration, then maybe it's about the kind of usage you might have. Here it comes down to whether you want individual usage या फिर आप चाहते हैं कि आपको कोई drive करे, like you have a chauffeur driven sort of an experience, or you want to have lots of family members, friends, maybe with you all the time or most of the time. And then there are those of us who need like more luggage or cargo requirement, that kind of space. The point here is that you're buying a car like this for one of these reasons. I mean, you have to have some rationale. There are those of us who might just do it because, I just want an SUV. But basically, you want something that has a high seating position, very good commanding view of the road, and maybe good headroom, good shoulder room. These are the kind of things that drive that, high ground clearance. So once you've taken that call on why you are buying this car in the first place, then we get into talking about the options that you have. Now, to add to your confusion, these three segments that I've mentioned, they already have a variety of powertrains, which means petrol bhi hai, diesel bhi hai, hybrid bhi hai, electric bhi hai. Hai na confusing? Well, look, the reasons to buy each of these comes down to your usage, your preference. So if you have any confusion or doubt that is specific to this point, petrol loon, diesel loon, kya loon main, feel free to comment. Just send me a message or, write to me on Twitter or X or even on Instagram. Siddharth Patankar is the handle. Or you can leave a comment here. Now, the other thing to think about though is the kind of parking you might have, or in the case of an electric, do you have a charging option or don't have a charging option? See, the thing to really consider is for some people, it could also be about the brand. You might have a certain preference there. You might also have some buyers who have some loyalty. You're used to something, you're comfortable. You want to stay with the same brand, or you hate the brand experience, you want to move to another brand. That's worth considering. इसको आप ऐसा मत सोचो कि ये important नहीं है, because at the end of the day, you have to be comfortable both physically in the car and also in your mind. Now, there are some brands who have also managed to get a reputation in terms of being kind of like a little bad on maintenance or on aftermarket service in general. Some also have the reputation of being pricey. There are other these like small things that might guide your decision. And I'm here to tell you that it's okay to think like that. All right, now pay attention to those segment names. This is where I need your attention. This is what I promised you. Here comes the gyan. ऐसा है, कुछ साल पहले तक everyone was behaving themselves and using proper nomenclature. But then some marketing genius decided that, you know what? Let's try and make it sound sexier than it actually is. So we started to use all kinds of new names. There was no reason for sticking to just UV or, utility vehicle. We went to SUV. Similarly, you started seeing people using things like CUV. And then, the compact SUV, which was compact, suddenly started becoming, or people started calling it mid-sized. Just sounded bigger, sounded good in the ads. So now I'm going to tell you, let's keep it very simple. Let's get the real segment names so that it's easy for you to understand in the long run just how these cars are actually positioned. As I mentioned, there's so much platform sharing also between them. First up, micro SUV. We can even call it entry SUV. Only two players here right now. There's the Hyundai Exter and the Tata Punch. Well, also the Tata Punch EV. So only one of them has an EV option. But you know what? You might get that Hyundai Inster or something like it very soon. Next is the subcompact SUV segment. Now this is sub 4 meter also. This is one of the two fastest growing segments in the market. Here you have a ton of options. Best selling cars. And in fact, the best selling cars really remain the Nexon at the lower end, the Venue at the higher end of the price point. But here's the interesting thing about this segment. ये एक ऐसी segment है, perhaps the only one in the market, where no model, no car that has been launched has really flopped. Everything has done well. It shows you the kind of demand in the market. So, Hyundai Venue, Kia Sonet, now the new Kia Ceros, Mahindra Thar, that's the 3-door Thar, XUV 3XO, XUV 400, both Mahindras again, Maruti Suzuki Brezza, the Fronx also, which sells through the Nexa platform, Nexa retail network rather. Jimny also sells from there. Nissan Magnite. Then we have the twin of the Magnite, which is the Renault Kiger. Skoda Kailak, the latest one to launch in the market. Wait, the Ceros, they came around the same time. So Kailak and then, or Kailak. And then you have the Tata Nexon, the Tata Nexon EV, and the Toyota Urban Cruiser Tizer. That's the full name officially for that car. अगर ये लिस्ट आपको लंबी लगी तो देन वेट फॉर द नेक्स्ट वन. कॉम्पैक्ट एसयूवीज इज द नेक्स्ट सेगमेंट, जहां अभी भी नई डस्टर का बेसब्री से इंतजार है. नाउ आई हैव ड्रिवन दैट रिव्यू इज ऑन द Acko Drive YouTube channel. It's a car that should launch in a few months. It's getting a lot of buzz in European markets. Third generation Duster. It's a ridiculous and completely unnecessary delay as far as launching it in India goes. Chalo, I got sidetracked. Coming back to the list. B6 from Mahindra, one of the latest entrants. Fully electric. The Citroën Aircross. यहाँ पे भी I guess Aircross का एक EV version is on the anvil. You got the Basalt also from Citroën, the coupe version of the Aircross. Honda Elevate does pretty well. The Hyundai Creta, which is the market leader. And now we got the Creta Electric also. Kia Seltos, Mahindra Thar Rocks, bestseller, our car of the year. Another bestseller is the Maruti Suzuki Grand Vitara. Now, this also has the hybrid option. There is also a four-wheel drive option here, but that's only manual. The upcoming e-Vitara is also going to be very interesting. It's coming up very soon. You saw it at the Auto Expo. The MG Aster, the Skoda Kushaq, Tata Curve EV, the Toyota Urban Cruiser Hyrider, long name, and that again has the hybrid option. And finally, the Volkswagen Tiguan. Now, the mid-size SUVs are next. You got the BYD Atto 3, जो यहाँ सिर्फ साइज़ से ज़्यादा प्राइस की वजह से है, let's be honest. The Citroën C5 Aircross, forgot about that one, didn't you? Hyundai Tucson, surprisingly did very well, better than Hyundai expected. लेकिन इसका facelift अभी तक launch नहीं हुआ है. Jeep Meridian, yeah, remember the Jeep Meridian? Mahindra XUV 700. Yes, now we're talking, of course, about the 3 rows also being a part of this segment. The Mahindra Scorpio N, MG Hector Plus, Tata Safari, and the new XEV9e. Notice how I'm not calling them Mahindra because those are the brands, B6 and XEV9e. Yeah, it'll take some time to get used to that. Well, anyway, we'll see how those families expand. Now, while they're not as hot selling as some of them are super pricey, some of them are still pretty popular. And speaking of super pricey and still pretty popular, the full-sizers, also known as the Hulks. Well, some of them are. MG Gloucester, then you got the Majester, which is something that's around the corner. Basically like a swankier version of the Gloucester, like what Toyota did with the Fortuner. This was shown at the Expo. It should launch very soon. The Nissan X-Trail, again, was launched, kind of overpriced, kind of forgotten. Skoda Kodiaq, the new generation, will launch very soon. In fact, we've already got the invitation for the drives, so which means the launch is imminent. Saw it at the Expo also. As I mentioned, the Fortuner, best seller here, and uska bhi wo thoda fancy version hai, Legender. Yeah, that name is something. Anyway, the Toyota Hilux, now it's not technically an SUV, but since we get the double cab and you've got, enough seating for like a family of 5, and then you've got the pickup cab behind it, since we don't really have a pickup segment, I've put it here anyway. And the Volkswagen Tiguan. The Tiguan, the new generation, is again not yet in the market, but उसका भी टीज़र निकल चुका है, उसका भी सारा हमको पता है कि क्या स्ट्रैटेजी होने वाली है. It's going to be again like a complete import, just the R line. Anyway, the point I'm getting at is, see, crazy long list. Prices go from like 6 lakhs to 60 lakhs. In fact, this Tiguan R line, it's all set to launch, like I said, direct import, like I said. Price is going to be like 50 lakhs or something ex-showroom. So crazy. I mean, the top-end Fortuner goes over 60 lakh rupees on road in some cities. So 57 to 65 lakhs. That's nuts. But anyway, that's where the prices have gone now. So today, the idea of doing this was just to kind of set it up. Because I'm sure कि आपको काफ़ी मैंने information तो दे दी, लेकिन you may have a lot of questions. So ask away. I'll even start taking your questions on this show, on the podcast, and then giving you hopefully some good answers too. Hopefully. All our reviews, auto news, anyway, it's on Acko Drive. So maybe you see something there, you want to ask me about it, catch me on social media, and catch me here. So thanks for spending this time with me. This is a new experiment, something I've been wanting to do for a while. Love speaking with you guys. So this is not about just me talking. It should be a lot about what you would like to say back. And before I go, as always, my request to you, humble and definitely something I would still force. Please wear your seatbelts. Front, back, doesn't matter where you're sitting. And please take care of yourself.